What's going on, guys? It's Tom. I'm back with another video. And, on this video, I just wanted to, it's not going to be a real long video. I just wanted to touch on the subject of, medical services here in the Philippines. And obviously, they differ. The quality differs depending on where you're at in the Philippines, okay? And, man, I've heard a number of horror stories from just watching other vloggers and other stories that seem to come from Dumaguete, you know, um, and I'm just gonna say this, man. I mean, Dumaguete's a small city, so in any small city, probably similar in the U.S. actually. Whenever you're in a small city compared to a large city, your medical services are going to be limited. Like the amount of good hospitals, good doctors and whatnot. It's not going to be as much. You're not going to have much access to really quality medical care as you would in a bigger city. You know, so I would just tell you this. I mean, if anything happens to you, and even if you're visiting here, right? Like if you're here visiting for a month or 2 months or whatever, 3 months, and you're not really living here, but something happens that's kind of a substantial physical medical event, right? Uh, just don't screw around with like, maybe you can get whatever it is. You might need to get stabilized. Wherever you're at. Even if it's in a smaller city, go somewhere and get stabilized. But if at all possible, go to a big city. Go to Manila. Go to Cebu. One of those cities. Manila has St. Luke's, which is the best, probably the best hospital in the Philippines. Is it cheap by Philippine standards? No, it's not. It's still going to be cheaper than the U.S. if you're just paying with no insurance, comparing apples to apples, right? If you have no insurance in the U.S. and you don't have Medicaid or Medicare, you're going to pay a hell of a lot more than you would, at St. Luke's, for example. But, like St. Luke's might be half the price of a U.S. Doctor or something like that, or maybe a third. Whereas there are other hospitals in the Philippines that are going to be like 10% of what you would pay in the U.S. It's going to be a lot cheaper, but you kind of get what you pay for, right? And I'll say this too: like I happen to be in Quezon City, and even though St. Luke's is probably the best hospital in the Philippines, there are other good hospitals in Manila that are going to be cheaper. You know what I mean? So depending on what your issue is, you there are other options, like but it's going to be in Manila, you know what I'm saying? Like if you're in Dumaguete or some small populated area of the Philippines, you're not going to, you could be in for a nightmare, you know what I mean? Like just don't screw around, like go to Manila or Cebu. I mean, Cebu is a smaller city, but there's over 1 million people, so it's still a pretty big city in the Philippines, and there's at least two or three, I think, decent hospitals. At least one that I've heard of. um, Obviously, your other option is to go to another country, right? Go. I've heard of guys going to Thailand, for medical, or even Vietnam, for medical, right? Uh, and again, the Manila thing is, obviously, if you've got some money, you need to have some money, to go because it's going to be more expensive than in some small city, but in the Philippines, but you're going to get much better service. And when you're talking about medical life and death stuff, it's very important, right? It's not like buying a car. I mean, it's pretty crucial who you're going to use, in medical situations, right? When you have some medical issues. And as we get older, of course, we do have issues, you know? And there's a lot of guys, myself included, that, like before I came here, I didn't really have hardly any medical issues at all. And then shortly after coming here, boom, I had like a back thing, prostate thing, and, all this stuff like within 3 months after getting here, Now, the prostate thing probably was something that was building, like for the last maybe year or two, before I came here even. But the back thing was like, I never had that before, and maybe I was carrying too much groceries and walking. You're gonna do more exercise here probably, right? You're gonna be walking more. You're gonna be probably carrying stuff more, than maybe you were in the U.S. So be ready for that. Get in good shape before you come here would be really the best thing. Not just like, oh, I feel good and I've had no issues, but like do more than that. Like don't just rely on your good luck. Because when you're over 60, I'm 63, I'll be 64 shortly. In a couple months, it's like things change, man. Your body starts. It's a lot easier to get hurt, when you're over 60. So just keep that in mind. A lot of older guys come here, obviously, it's cost of living and other reasons. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to come here to live and you're really intent on that, then start getting in shape. And even like strength training and stuff like that, if you can. Don't kill yourself, but I mean, just gradually work up to it. But anyway, that's about it. I just wanted to kind of touch on the medical issues because there's been some recent situations that I've seen on YouTube, really pretty tragic too. Like, and yeah, it's going to do you a hell of a lot better if you just go to the big city, man. If you got some issue that's pretty serious, don't screw around in these small cities with the medical. Okay, just go. Flying to Manila is cheap, man. It's gonna be like $100 round trip. You know, even if it was $100 each way, you know, that's cheap. Like how many places in the U.S. can you fly for that? Within the country, even for so cheap a price. So just it's worth it. Just go to a good hospital. Really, you'll be glad you did. Um, and that's about it, really. I've actually had in closing here, I've had kind of a recurrence of what I thought I pretty much had about a year and a half ago. And I had all that back stuff and kind of a nerve pain issues caused by the compressed discs. My L4, L5, and it's not really sciatica per se. You've heard guys talk about that, but it is a nerve thing. But it's not all nerve things are just straight up sciatica or whatever. But anyway, and I dealt with it initially with medication. Then I did physical rehab, physical therapy, and I've been good for a long time. For like well over a year. I've been good, and then all of a sudden I had a kind of a relapse, and it's been about 3 weeks, and now it's more of I am taking this nerve pain, medication. Now it's just my hip. It just feels like it's and it's a nerve pain. It's a deep, dull nerve pain. It's not like sharp pains, but it's like my hip, like mostly the front of my right hip. Sometimes it goes to the back of the hip, but usually it's on the front. So anyway, no big deal. But I mean, I'm telling you, just because stuff like this can happen to you too. So just be cognizant of it and try and stay in good shape, man. You know, try and eat right and exercise and all that, even after you get here. If you're especially if you're living here. So, all right, guys, that's it, man. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video, and I really appreciate you guys. I'll see you later. Have a good day.